What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out this segment of the main show. Be sure to check out the full EXFIL podcast at youtube.com/xpmedia now. There's also another option, which I'd like to talk about too, with that situation where it's, okay, I need to run away. You can also use Vaseline. Vaseline will remove the pain effect, in which case will allow you to run away and hide. It will not give you the healing effect, but it's cheaper than buying Propitols. So it's a 10 use, versus the one-off for the Propitols. So if you're struggling with money, you can keep a Vaseline in your gamma, and you can still use that in this situation.
Yeah, and I think that point brings up something that I wanted to go through and then talk about some of the various ways you can handle this stuff, is that I want to rattle off the full list of debuffs that you can have in this game. And part of this is because it sort of shocks me to know how many there are, but also as a new player, just how hard it can be to figure out what do I need to worry about. Because in other games, right, if you're coming from PUBG or Rainbow Six, or it really doesn't matter, there's usually a couple healing items, or at max like 2 different ones. Like you'll have some things that just flat heal you, and then you'll have some things that heal you over time, but it's usually just 1 health bar. In Tarkov, you have 7 health bars, and then you have a full list of debuffs that can happen to you. Some of them are on a per limb basis, some of them are just to your PMC overall. So check this out. There's blood loss, there's fresh wound, fracture, pain, contusion, tremor, tunnel vision, dehydration, hard dehydration, fatigue, hard fatigue, overweight, critical overweight, stun, disorientation, flash, and stim debuff. It's like, there's so many things to think about. And knowing what all of these do to your character, to Eric's point, there's a number of ways to handle them. There's a number of ways to handle them at different price points. So pain can be removed via painkillers. And oftentimes people will just say, hey, did you bring painkillers in? Well, there's actually an item called painkillers. There is ibuprofen and Vaseline, which are basically just more duration on the pain-killing effect. Then you have things like the morphine shot, which will kill pain. And you have things like the Propitol shot or stim that will also kill pain. And then they have other side effects, both good and bad. So there's all of these things that you have to be worrying about or understand what the icons are. And then you have to know how to treat them as well. So one of the things that happened to me in this scenario was I was looking into Ollie, shooting at scabs when I got shot from the back. Okay? So normally I would say, well, if you're getting into a combat scenario or approaching a combat area, take your painkillers, whether it's painkiller, ibuprofen, Vaseline, Propitol, morphine shot, whatever it is, to get your on painkillers effect ahead of time, so that if you get a blacked out limb or if you get a fracture, it's not going to affect you during the PvP itself. I didn't have that ability in this scenario. So again, what you're talking about with the Vaseline is a perfect example of this. Is there's other ways to handle pain or the fractures or the blacked out limbs. Vaseline is one of them, but there's actually a bunch of ways to handle that particular thing. And you're right, at various price points. If you have a Vaseline or an ibuprofen or even a Golden Star, I forgot Golden Star, that's the other one. There's even another one. All of those things are kind of expensive as a per slot item. So oftentimes you can keep those in your gamma. Whereas if maybe you just have the 2x2 secured container, sometimes it's more beneficial from a price standpoint to just keep painkillers in your pocket, because they're a couple thousand to replenish all the time, versus taking in a Vaseline, which can be 30 to 40K for a brand new one.
Yep, and there's even the adrenaline ejector too, which will take care of pain and also give you a buff on different things. So there are a lot of different ways for different price points, like you're saying, to deal with these different debuffs. Pain is probably going to be the most common thing you're going to have to manage. So understanding how to manage pain is going to be important. And I think from my perspective, the other thing that you're going to have to understand is really the difference between a CMS and a survival kit. I think that is like a critical thing, because in the beginning of the game, you're like, oh, the CMS takes up one less spot, it's cheaper, and I can heal my blacked out limb. But when you start using it, you realize that the problem with that is that it doesn't remove a fracture. So like I said before, you still have to have a splint and still use that. And that starts to become a big deal, because if you don't remove the fracture, you gain your hit points back, but then you're still dealing with pain. But if you don't have anything to mitigate the pain, you kind of see how this starts to unravel as you're trying to make it out of the raid alive. So I think understand that a survival kit is something that you really should be carrying. You can use a CMS if you need to. If you're going to get into any kind of prolonged raids, you really want to have a survival kit.